So is I'm visible and audible to you, all of you? Actually, I think there's an issue in my system. Okay, so let's start. So in the last class, we was discussing about actually we are winding about functions of RBI, and in the functions of RBI, our last frontier was monetary policy function, and we have completed that. And unfortunately, I was not able to provide the PDF. I'm sorry for this thing, but tomorrow, 26th January, I am completely going to dedicate my day for this PDF completion, and I'll complete the PDF and I'll provide to you, because I have received a lot of complaint. Students are saying that why you are not providing the PDF. I'll provide. But because of some busy work, I was not able to finalize it. But tomorrow I'll complete it. So probably tomorrow evening or by day after tomorrow, you will get your PDF of complete RBI. Complete RBI PDF will be available, right? And that is going to be in both some printed and some handwritten, right? Both will be there, and it can be useful for all the exams. Fine, it is going to be useful for all the exam focused on grade B, but can be used for any other exams also. So we already completed this RBI part, and when we talk about our financial system, when we talk about our financial system, this financial system, so financial system of any country is basically regulatory bodies, market intermediaries, and market itself, right? So when we say regulatory body, it is RBI, SEBI, etc. Market intermediaries are whom? Banks, NBFCs, insurance companies, etc. Right? Whereas market is comprised of what? Market is comprised of money market and capital market. Money market and capital market. So we started with the regulatory body of RBI, and RBI regulate banking system, RBI regulate NBFCs, right? And RBI some sort of regulation over the money market also, right? So after completing the RBI, we will move towards banking, and from banking to NBFC, right? Then we will move to SEBI, and from SEBI we will move to market. And market, first we will complete the money market, then we will go to the capital market, and in capital market all these mutual funds, each and everything is going to be covered. So this is the flow how we are going. So RBI is completed. Now today we are going to start our banking part. Okay. So banking is considered as a modern institution, right? Modern institution of lending and deposit, and it is organized way of lending and depositing, right? So it comes under the organized way of lending and depositing, right? Acha, one more thing, I hope today is you are going to have more clarity on the screen, because I'm using this full screen. So is it good? Because some people are complaining कि sir is not using the full screen and we are not able to sit properly. Today I hope you are happy. Still some people are not happy because of PDF, but I'll provide the PDF. But full screen problem is resolved. So let's start with our banking system, right? So as I said, it is modern institution and it is organized way of lending and depositing. Organized way of lending and depositing, right? So uh, it is Europeans who explored the world after industrial revolution. Their exploration all over the world for the search of market and raw material was started, and by the way they went to the different parts, they established their colonies, right? And through that colonies they introduced their modern system, that is banking. Here the term bank which we use, it is closely related to the term river bank, right? It is closely related to the river bank, right? How it is closely related to the river bank? Side of the river and bank of the river. In Hindi or in Sanskrit we use the term ghat, nadi ka ghat and nadi ka kinara, river side and river bank. So bank of a river always have a water. So this concept also say that ki there is a place where always there will be the money. Even other areas are under drought, but in the bank there will be definitely a money. So that's why it's commonly known as bank, right? So in Europe, banking was started in the very organized way. Though lending and depositing was ancient old, but the organized way of lending and depositing was started in Europe, and Europeans also came to India, and by that virtue, they have introduced their banking system. Though in India, various European companies came, and among all those companies, Britishers were considered as a last, right? But they become last man standing also. All the European companies finally exit, and it was British East India Company which was able to establish their role. So if just I want to explain you about British East India Company, you will say that, "Ki, sir, in banking, finance, economy, what is the need to explain this British East India Company?" There is a need to just give you an idea, better understanding. There is a need, and especially to understand the nature of government companies, right? The nature of government companies. So, can you give me any example of today's India which is closely related to British East India Company? Any example in India, especially people from Delhi, can give any example which is closely related to the functioning and working of British East India Company? Have you seen Delhi Metro? Delhi Metro. So Delhi Metro, that is DMRC, Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. It is a company where Delhi government and DMRC have joint venture, right? But who is providing security? Who is providing security to Delhi Metro? Who is providing the security? It is CISF, Central Industrial Security Force. They are responsible for the security of DMRC. So the people who are deployed from CISF in DMRC duty, so their salary and remuneration is being paid by whom? Their salary and remuneration is paid by DMRC. Fine. So similarly, British East India Company was formed as a private company, and that private company was protected by the British Armed Forces, and that British Armed Forces effectively provide the security to the British East India Company in the different part of the world. By that virtue, the company was able to not only do the business but also run the administration. Right? So they are also running the administration in India. And because they are running the administration in India, they are involved in the financial transactions of giving the salary, collecting the taxes. Fine. Apart from doing the trading activity, apart from doing the trade activity, they are also involved in the administration. And when you are involved in the administration, you are responsible for collecting of the taxes, paying the salaries, all these things. And when you are involved in all those activities, especially in other country where there is no as such common currency or common way of doing the transaction, then it is implicit you must have to introduce the banking system or financial intermediary who can offer their services to you, and you can avail those services for your business purpose. For example, in India, DMRC is using what? DMRC is using CISF rather than deploying Delhi police itself. Right. So Delhi police is not deployed, but CISF is deployed to look over that part. Similarly, when the British East India Company started doing what? Running the administration apart from the trade and commerce, they feel that either they can themselves establish a bank, they themselves can establish a bank, or they can take the services of any European bank and they can invite those European banks to come in India and do the business. Right. So in this way, British offered the banking services in India for Europeans, and in order to accept this request, the Bank of Hindustan was established in India. It's not very important in which year, but because there are the conflicting claims. In 1770, this Bank of Hindustan was established. Don't go by what I am writing here, right? Don't go by this because some conflictual claim is there. When I'll provide you in the PDF, I'll provide you in the PDF with reference also, especially for those years where there is a doubt and confusion are there. Just for your understanding right now, you should focus only on the understanding part rather than focusing on the year and all. Wherever there is a dispute, I'll provide you the authentic source as a reference, so you can also check from there. Right. I do not have something to hide. This is only my source. This should not be your source. Anybody can go and read and understand. So I'll provide the reference. But for right now, that's Bank of Hindustan, and then another bank, the General Bank of India, and it was established around 1784. So these two banks came to India to do the business because they feel that the British East India Company is continuously expanding its area of influence in India. So there is a huge opportunity for them to do the business and make a lot of profit here. But unfortunately, both banks were failed. Both banks were failed because they are not able to understand the Indian requirement, Indian mindset, Indian psyche, an Indian way of doing the business. India was largely at that point of time agrarian economy, agriculture based economy, where in Europe economy was closely or fast movement from agrarian means agriculture based economy to industrialized economy. So in India there is no huge demand of capital, right? Capital to establish industries, but in Europe there is a huge demand of capital. So what they feel that these banks feel that if they come to India, there are also a huge demand of capital because Britishers are here. But that didn't happen, and finally they closed down their business and they went back. But for some time, for some amount of time, they are transacting their business in India, right? So just for your further understanding, so this consider as a India, right? So British India, right? So some part of the British India, British East India Company, there are the some parts which are directly ruled by British East India Company. They are directly ruled and administered by British East India Company, whereas the rest of the part, Rest of the part, they have an agreement. They have an agreement with their ruler. What rulers of India, they have accepted the paramountcy of British East India Company, and they considered British Queen as their queen, but they can run their own administration on their own. So they are known as what? They are known as princely states, right? And these administrative units which are under direct control of British East India Company, they are known as presidency. They are known as presidency during the company rule in India. Right. And as I told you, 1770 and 1784, these two banks were established. But finally, these banks finally decided to left India. So by the beginning of 19th century, British have faced the crisis, because for British East India Company faced the crisis. Why they faced the crisis? Because in India there was no bank is to transact the business on their behalf. European businesses or European banks are not eager after seeing the fate of these two banks. They are not interested. Now you have no option to establish your own bank, right? You do not have any option to establish their own bank. And another reason why Britishers were also interested to establish, British East India Company also interested to establish their own banks in India by the beginning of 19th century, because what we know today, Southeast Asia, like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, out of this all landmass, Britishers have complete control over 80% of the landmass. So they have this firm belief that we are going to be remain here for a long time. So it is right time to introduce your permanent institutions like banking. Right. And all of you know that ki Kolkata, that times Calcutta was a center of East India Company's trading activity and administrative activity. Right. So in order to fulfill their requirements in 1806, Bank of Calcutta was established. Bank of Calcutta was established. If you will ever see the advertisement of State Bank of India, you will find this date, serving the nation since 1806. Right. So that was a kind of seed of State Bank of India. You will know it today how it is related to the State Bank of India. So Bank of Calcutta was established, and the main function of the Bank of Calcutta is what? To cater all financial requirements of East India Company of all presidencies. I told you what is the presidency. Presidency was an area directly administered by the British East India Company. Right? They are direct controlled by a British East India Company. They are known as presidency. Fine. So for all presidency, Bank of Calcutta was established. Fine. But it was not having a proper status of a bank of presidency. Actually, it was started as an experiment. Is it going to work or not? But within 3 years, just give me a second. Just give me a second. So So it was started as an experiment, but within a 2-3 years, the British East India Company realized that can properly function as a presidency bank. What means presidency bank? The bank which is authorized to issue currency, bank which is authorized to take deposits on the behalf of British government, British East India Company, bank which is able to collect the taxes, all transaction of monetary transactions on the behalf of British East India Company can be transacted by that bank. So that is why this bank was renamed as a Bank of Bengal. And status of presidency bank was given to this bank. So this was the first presidency bank in India, Bank of Bengal, established in 1809. So Bank of Bengal, right? And at that point of time, British East India Company has divided India into three presidencies: Bengal, Bombay, and Madras. However, this Bank of Bengal was a default presidency bank which can work as a bank for other presidencies also. However, by the 1840s, when Lord Cornwallis was Governor General of India, right, he emphasized what he emphasized: decentralization of administrative and financial function. That is why by 1840, presidency of Bombay also got their own separate bank, that is Bank of Bombay in 1840. Then in 1843, Bank of Madras. So there were three presidency bank till then. East India Company ruled in India, and company rule was ended in 1858 after the revolt of 1857. Company rule was ended and British government took the administration of India directly. So when the company was overthrown by the government and British government directly take the control of India, then these presidency banks were informed they should continue their work as a government bank. Means they can take the money on the behalf of the government, they can give the money on the behalf of government, plus they should continue the function of currency function. Currency function. They should continue with the currency function means what? They can remain default bank to issue the currencies. However, by 1861, Currency Act was passed, and this function of currency function was taken over by Government of India, British India government. British India government took this role. British India government took this role and they said that no, we will do this thing. You should just focus on other part, means other transactions, collecting the taxes, providing the loans, and you can also help to develop the banking in India. Right. So the first, which bank is India's first bank? First bank is the Bank of Hindustan, right? But this question is being asked in different terms, so I'll come to this point later. Just follow this chronology, right? Follow this chronology. So in 1861, this function was taken by the government, currency function, and these banks, these presidency bank of Bombay, Bengal, and Madras can remain function as what? They can remain function as a normal bank, but currency function will be done by the government. Means currency will be issued by government, other banking thing can be operated by this presidency bank. And 1857 revolt, and then British India government was established. So what British thought that it is very important to involve Indians in the different aspects of administration as well as social life, right? So even in Indians allowed to participate in the administration. Similarly, British government also feel that it is imperative to involve Indian in the financial domain. Financial domain. So like other part, Indians were encouraged they can establish their own banks in India. Earlier, before 1857, it was not allowed for Indians to establish their own bank. But after 1857 revolt, it was allowed to open their own banks with certain terms and conditions. Means European partnership should be there. Number one. Number two, the management should be controlled by both British and Indians, right? They have given the logic because you people do not have any experience to run the bank, so it is very important to have European involvement in order smooth and proper functioning of the bank. So sector was at least open for Indians. So Indians with Britishers, they started opening their own banks. Lot of banks were established, liquidated. All these things were going on. Fine. But by this time, by this time, national sentiment and nationalistic sentiment was on rise, and especially in the state of Punjab. Right, in Punjab, nationalist sentiments was on rise, and kind of Swadeshi kind of feeling was there कि we should have something our own. Right. For example, today's government like Atmanirbhar Bharat. So kind of Swadeshi thing was in the mind of the people. And in Punjab, the Punjab Kesari Lal Lajpat Rai was a front or flag bearer of this Swadeshi movement there. So not Swadeshi for all other things, also in the financial domain also. The Swadeshi kind of the thing. So Lala Lajpat Rai with other prominent businessmen in Punjab, they decided to establish their own bank, and they decided that this bank is going to have ownership of only Indians. Only Indians. Ownership will be of only Indians, right? So whosoever are the owner of this bank, they will be remain Indian, Indian, and Indian. Fine. They will be only Indian ownership will be there. However, as I told you, running the bank is not like running a kirana shop, right? Bank is a complicated thing, and for that you just not only have a knowledge plus experience also, right? Knowledge and experience both are required, right? So at that point of time, Indian do not have a such kind of the experience kind of the thing. So despite the all ownership of Indians, only Indian ownership, PNB was established, Punjab National Bank was established with the ownership of only Indians. Right. So if somebody is going to ask question, which was the first only Indian ownership bank, that was Punjab National Bank. Punjab National Bank. But one thing is what, despite having the ownership of only Indians, management was still under control of British. Right. So it was not first truly Indian bank. Truly Indian bank in the sense of what? Owner and management was should be should be what? Owner and management should be Indians, in the control of Indians. But PNB, Punjab National Bank, was a one breaking point where PNB, establishment of PNB, make Indians have a belief that we can run the bank. We can run the bank on our own. So this kind of the belief was generated, but still the complex thing, the management of the bank was still in the hand of Britishers. But if the question is being asked in the exam, which was the first Indian bank, right? First Indian bank, then answer will be PNB. But if the question will be what, which was the first truly Indian bank or first Indian bank which is having the management and ownership is complete control of Indians, then the answer is, anybody can answer this question? First truly Indian bank in the sense of what? In the sense when I say truly Indian means owner plus management. Indian. No, not Allahabad Bank. See, Allahabad Bank. See, Allahabad Bank. Those who are confused with the Allahabad Bank, I'll clear this smoke. So ownership and management. Ownership, right? First, Indian ownership, and here the term will be what? First, so as I told you, Indians were not allowed to have their own bank, right? Indians were not allowed to have their own bank. So Indians are not allowed to have an ownership of the bank. So Allahabad Bank was the first bank with Indian ownership, right? That ownership may be of 10% or 20%, 30%, but certainly not 100%. First complete ownership by Indians, that is 100% ownership, that was PNB. But still here, management was with whom? British. Management was with British, right? चारू saying that कि सर प्लीज आगे की क्लास कब लोगे, ये तो 5 जनवरी 2022 को भी हुई थी इंडियन बैंकिंग सिस्टम. ईएसआई के आगे के टॉपिक फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन. Charu Jan, please go to that lecture. Just not go to the cover only, right? Please go and see the lecture, what was in the lecture, right? Then come back here and make this comment, right? Just seeing few lines, right? The few lines, and you are going to decide ki this happened, that happened. It is not appropriate. First go and see the lecture completely, then come and then whatever you want to say here, right? I have given the lecture plan and I will go with that lecture plan only, not as per your request or not as per your demand. I will go and follow that lecture plan which I have given, and I'm going accordingly to that only. If you have any issue, you can go as per your means whatever you feel that it is good for me, you can go as per that one, but I will follow this lecture plan only. Fine. Now, so I hope this Allahabad Bank issue is clear. Allahabad Bank and what is the PNB. Now, when I said that ownership and management, that was Central Bank of India, established by Sorabji Pochkanwala. I have given this example in that lecture, but the context was different. I was giving you the history of RBI, right? And I also told you that when I'll discuss the banking system, the same kind of the thing will come, but not in that extensive manner. Focus will be different. You can go to that lecture and you will find these things. I have discussed about the Sorabji Pochkanwala there, and I told you the same thing. We are going to have a discussion on the same few things, because the history of RBI and history of banking India overlaps. So few things will be focused and few things will be discarded. So now the focus is different. Focus on lecture rather than trying to find the differences. Fine. So Sorabji Poshkanwala has established the Central Bank of India, and he, along with other Parsis, was the owner, and he was the person who run the management, right? Because he was earlier working in Central Bank of India, sorry, Bank of India. He was working in Bank of India earlier, and while working in the Bank of India, he gained some experience, and with that experience, he was confident I can run that bank on my own. So that is why he established the Central Bank of India under the highly influenced Swadeshi movement of Mahatma Gandhi. He was inspired by that movement, and finally he said that we can run the management also. So that is why if somebody is going to ask the first truly Indian bank, answer will be Central Bank of India, right? Central Bank of India. So now in India, Indians are dominating our banking system. By 1920s, Indians are dominating our banking system. So if that dominance is going to continue, then all these three presidency banks will not able to have a biggest influence. So that is why these presidency banks were merged in 1921 and Imperial Bank of India was established. Imperial Bank of India was established in 1921. Fine. So these are some important event before independence. And if we will look the Indian banking history, that was the one part of the Indian banking history where the stage was set for dominance of Imperial Bank of India. And at that time, there was no central bank in India. So Imperial Bank of India by default, not only the biggest commercial bank because it was formed by merging three presidency bank, but it also functions as a government bank. So bankers bank, government bank, largest commercial bank, all these role played by Imperial Bank of India. Fine. Again, as I told you, when Britishers were ruling our country, they are ruling in two ways. One is a princely states, right? One is the princely state, and another is a territory directly under the control of British. So, presidency plus princely state. That was up to East India Company rule. When British government started ruling, this presidency become what? Provinces and princely state. So for provinces, there is an imperial bank. But some princely state, for example, princely state of Hyderabad, princely state of Indore, Travancore, all these princely states have a subsidiary of imperial bank, right? They have the subsidiary of Imperial Bank. Later on, after independence, Imperial Bank of India become what? State Bank of India, and the subsidiaries of Imperial Bank, they become the subsidiary of what? State Bank of India, like Travancore, Indore, Hyderabad, Jaipur, and Jaipur and Jaisalmer. So in that way, these subsidiaries were there finally after the independence, right? So in this way, Imperial Bank of India has gained the momentum at the time of independence. So when the India got independence, Indian banking system was like an RBI. There was an RBI with currency management. There was Imperial Bank of India and commercial banks. Commercial banks. So Imperial Bank of India was a commercial bank plus bank to the government, bankers bank, all these roll with Imperial Bank of India only. So finally government in 1949, right? In 1949, what government did? Government first went for Banking Regulation Act. Banking Regulation Act 1949. So all these functions were transferred to whom? RBI, right? And Imperial Bank of India left with only what? Imperial Bank of India was left with only the functioning of commercial bank. Finally, because it was in private bank, Imperial Bank of India agreed to transfer its ownership to RBI. So Imperial Bank of India's ownership was taken by whom? Imperial Bank of India's ownership was taken by the Reserve Bank of India, and this transfer was completed by 1955. So by 1955, this Imperial Bank of India became State Bank of India. But who was the owner of State Bank of India? Not government. Not government. It was owned by whom? Reserve Bank of India, right? Then in 1958, government came with the legislation and allowed RBI to sell ownership of State Bank of India to government. In 1955, the majority ownership of Imperial Bank of India was owned by RBI, right? RBI was the owner. So RBI has changed the name from Imperial Bank of India to State Bank of India, right? And by 1958, government allowed RBI to sell the ownership of what? Of State Bank of India to government. And finally, in 2008, whatever the ownership was left with RBI was taken by Government of India. So by 2008, all the ownership of State Bank of India was transferred to Government of India, right? So when we say nationalized bank, we do not put SBI under this category of nationalized bank. We do not put SBI under the category of nationalized bank. Why? Please understand very carefully from here. Why it is not a nationalized bank? As I told you, 1947, by 1947, we have RBI, we have Imperial Bank, we have commercial banks, right? And this process was happened with what? With the formation of or renaming of Imperial Bank of India with SBI. But all other commercial banks, they are of nature of private banks. Means government was not owner of any bank completely. In SBI, there was two owner, RBI and Government of India. But government do not have complete ownership in any bank from 1947 to 1969. In 1969, Indira Gandhi government has decided to go for nationalization by taking ownership of private banks. So we use this term nationalization when private property is taken by government. In the case of SBI, the ownership was transferred from private to RBI, and RBI transferred this ownership to government. So it was kind of government agency, but RBI is an autonomous body. As per RBI Act is an autonomous body. So RBI was an autonomous body which acquired the ownership of SBI, right? And from RBI, it was government who taken the ownership. So it was a transfer from a autonomous body to government of India. Whereas here, what happened in 1969 and then 1980, that was the transfer of private ownership to government ownership. That is why those banks, 14 banks who were nationalized in what, in 1969, like example PNB is a nationalized bank, means those banks who were earlier private and taken over by government. Whereas in the case of SBI, it was a private taken by RBI, and from RBI it was taken by whom? Government of India. Now, other point is public sector bank. So when we come to the public sector bank, SBI and Nationalized Bank, SBI and Nationalized Bank both are public sector bank, because public sector bank is defined by government ownership. Who is a owner? From what way you have took the ownership, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter from what way you took the ownership, but who is the owner? Who is the majority share? Who have more than 51% share? If government is having the 51 share, more than 51% share, then that is public sector, right? So SBI and all other nationalized banks, they are public sector bank, but SBI is not a nationalized bank. SBI is a public sector bank, so it become private to ownership of property of RBI, and from property of RBI to property of government of India, right? So it is not a nationalized. I hope this point is clear. No, see, in 1958, majority share of SBI was taken by government of India. Majority shares were taken by government of India, but still some shareholding of RB was also there. Some shareholding, right? So, so some shareholding was there, and all the remaining shareholding with the RBI of SBI was taken by government of India by 2008, right? So this is the point. I hope this is clear right now. Clear? If it is clear, now I am going to draw the diagram of Indian banking system. I am considering you know this RBI each and everything, banking system, and under this सबसे पहले means first of all it is public sector banks. SBI. Earlier it was SBI Group, means SBI and other banks. Now all these subsidiary banks or other banks are merged in SBI. So it is SBI and others are nationalized banks. Right? Then there is a category of private sector banks. Right? Private sector banks. And then again the category of regional, rural banks, local area banks, cooperative banks. While mentioning this thing, banking system, scheduled banks. So I'm talking about the scheduled bank. So in broader way, banking in India first can be defined in two parts: scheduled bank and non-scheduled banks. And when we will go for scheduled banks, this is the structure. Public sector banks, public sector banks, right? SBI. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. This point is clear or not? Payment bank, another thing, I'll discuss it later, but first tell me this is clear or not? Payment bank, deposit bank, all these things I'll discuss later. But are you able to understand the skeleton of Indian banking system or not? I am discussing about the skeleton of the system, not flesh and other body parts of the banking system. We will come to the payment banks, we will come to the bad banks, we will come to the systematically. See, the problem is what? The problem is student have to be patient. If you want, I told you this thing earlier also, I'm telling you this thing again. If you do not have a faith on your teacher, then you are not able to, means it's better to leave it. It's better to leave and go there where you have a trust, number one. Because if you have a trust issue, learning cannot be done. Learning and understanding cannot be done. So first, trust, right? And to make your trust on me, I have given a lot of lectures on this YouTube, and I went in the depth, and I have explained each and everything in the very depth, right? I have explained the interest rates. You can go and see the any lecture which is available on this YouTube platform or any platform. I'm challenging any platform. If anyone have explained the interest rates in such a extensive manner, nobody. I also teach the civil services aspirants, right? I teach the civil services aspirants, so I know that people don't go in such a extensive way, right? I with the Ashok ji, we have decided that we will give the extensive way. We want to show the what kind of the quality we are providing to the students, right? So have a trust on me. I'll explain each and everything, but please go with me, along with me. And I know that syllabus is extensive. Once you will have a good understanding of basics, which are very important and critical, even you can ask many people, those people who are teaching this banking now, just ask them, can you differentiate, SBI? They don't know. Those who are teaching, even they don't know. Even I took a lot of time to understand this thing, reading a lot of literature. I was telling you on that day na, ki the book. So what history I explained you in last few minutes, for that I studied this book apart from the history of Reserve Bank of India, 4 volumes, balance of banking in India. So what I explained you now, only Indian owner 100%, owner plus management, India, RBS establishment, philosophy and history behind that. So for that, I studied this book apart from the PDF of History of Reserve Bank of India, 4 volumes. So whatever I'm giving you, please have a patience, right? Things will come one by one, and it will come at appropriate time, because I am also having an experience also. I am teaching all these kind of the student, civil services student, grade B student, In every bank, I have my student as a probationary officer. All public sector banks, right? All public sector banks, I am very feeling very proud, right? Ki all of the students are working in the banks. Fine. So I have an experience, sufficient experience, so that I can make you be there in RBI also, right? So have some patience, have some focus on the lecture. What I am teaching right now, I'll complete your syllabus if it is required. I'll take 2 hours class. I'll take more hours class, but I'll complete the things. Don't worry. Okay. So now, so if you understood this thing about this banking system, right? Now, heading towards another understanding, when we say bank, when we say bank, it is one is commercial banks and other is development bank. Commercial bank and development bank. When we further go in the commercial bank, there is one retail banks, merchant banks, right? And one more category is universal banks. So what is merchant bank, retail bank and universal bank? First, let it clear here only. When bank is offering all of their products to all of, means bank is focusing on individual plus industry. Means bank is providing loan to you and me. Bank is also providing loan to Ambani and Adani. Right. Adani and Ambani. Then it is a kind of retail banking. You are opening the deposits. You means providing the deposit facility. All these things. When we say merchant banks, when we say merchant banks, I told you this capital market and money market, right? Capital market and money market. Here there is a transaction of debt securities, and here there is a transaction of debt and equity. Debt and equity, right? And for a company, two kind of capital is required: working capital and other is long term capital. So working capital for long running requirements and working capital for what? This long term capital for expansion of business in the longer run, right? So there are some banks who do not deal in what? They do not deal in this normal banking. In this normal banking, providing loans and providing the account deposit, such kind of a thing, right? They are focused on what? They are focused only providing the working capital requirement, long term capital requirement, participating in the debt securities, participating in debt and equity securities, right? So they are merchant bank, right? Have you ever heard this name? Have you ever heard this name? Obviously, sir, it's very simple. ICICI Bank. But have you ever heard this name? ICICI Securities. ICICI Securities. So ICICI Bank Limited, ICICI Securities, ICICI Lombard, right? So ICICI is a group. ICICI is a group which is providing retail banking, but also provides merchant solutions like trading in securities, government securities, trading in other securities, right? Other securities of other companies, shares and all. So they are what? They are known as ICICI Securities. HDFC also have the arm. So many banks have their arm which is focused on what? Merchant banking, right? Merchant banking. So merchant bank, what is merchant banking and what is retail banking? Is it clear? ICC Prudential provides what kind of insurance services? Prudential provide insurance services. If merchant banking and retail banking is clear, now understand what is universal banking. When bank will provide all kind of the services, all kind of the services, retail banking, merchant banking, insurance solutions. Once at a particular under one roof, you are providing all kind of the solutions, you are providing all kind of the solutions related to banking, then you become what? Universal bank. And it was ICIC was the first bank considered as a universal bank. So what is universal bank? Is it clear? What is universal bank? Is it clear? Okay, fine. So till then now I have explained you the history, right? I have explained you the history, types of banks, scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. Primarily, they are come under the two categories, scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks, right? But banking is a part of financial system. Financial system is a dynamic thing where you see this Bombay Stock Exchange right now. In 1890, there was a banyan tree, Bargat Kaped. Banyan tree was there, and under that banyan tree, people will do the transaction of the securities, right? People do the transaction of securities. So, banking system is what? Banking system is ever evolving system. Things are going to be evolved, right? So the evolution of banking in India, I went till then nationalization. I went till then nationalization, and I told you till then 1969, then again in 1980. Two times nationalization was happened in India. But when the nationalization first time happened in India in 1969, apart from the nationalization, government also passed an order. What order government passed? No private bank. No private bank will be in India. So under the law, Banking Nationalization Act, it was also mentioned no private bank means RBI will not provide the license to the banks to establish the private bank. Fine. So when we say this private bank, when we say this private bank, these private banks are also divided into two parts. How they are divided into two parts? As I told you, the nationalization first time happened in 1969, then 1980, right? So total 14 plus 6 banks were nationalized. But India was having lot of banks as a private bank. So 20 were nationalized, but still some banks were left who was not nationalized under this process of nationalization. Okay. Then what happened after 1980? India went for LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization and globalization was happened, and under this it was suggested कि India also open the banking sector for the private companies again because it was closed in 1969. India should open their banking system again. So RBI has established Narasimhan committee, and on the recommendation of Narasimhan committee, RBI said that okay, we will start giving license to private companies who want to establish their own bank, right? They want to establish the bank as a private bank. We will start giving the license. So after 1992, RBI, because government allowed RBI, and RBI floated the tender, those who are interested to establish their own bank as a private bank, we will check the eligibility, and if they are eligible, we will give you the bank's license to run a banking in India. And when I'll say banking, so what I mean is basically retail banking. I mean is retail banking, because merchant banks, public is not interested. Common people who are having very limited financial resources, they are not at risk under merchant bank. Who are under risk under the bank? Retail bank. Under retail bank, public's money, the common people's money. So when I say the private bank here after 1992, I want to mean that what? That is retail banks in India. So RBI said that okay, we will provide the retail banking license again. So those banks who were established, after 1992, they are known as new private banks. And whereas those banks who was able to save themselves as a private bank under two process of nationalization, under two rounds of nationalization, they are known as old private banks. So like Housing Corporation means HDFC Bank, ICC Bank, all these are old private banks. Whereas UTI Bank, which is right now known as Axis Bank, that is what? That is new private bank, right? So in that way, these banks were established under the new and old private banks category. Okay? Yes, Shikhar. Yes, KBL. KBL is an old private bank. Very good. So now, what one more thing I just want to tell you here is, when RBI was allowed to give the license to whom? Give the license to private firms to establish their bank. So Indian industrialists, right, with influence of foreign business people, they lobbied very hard. Along with the government to pressurize RBI to open retail banking license even to Indian corporates. Right? So Indian corporates open this sector. But you know what? RBI, when it was established in 1935, before RBI's establishment, lot of industrialists, including Tata is one of the most trustworthy name in Indian parlance. So even Tata has tried to run the business of a bank, but they are not able to sustain it, right? So with that history, plus once the corporates will be allowed to open retail bank, they can tap hard earned money of common people, and that is going to make common people's money vulnerable in the hand of corporates. And if any industrialist who is tainted, for example Vijay Mallya, right? So this Vijay Mallya was one of the reputed name, right? He got doctorate from some university, and he is a Dr. Vijay Mallya, right? So he was an industrialist at a point of time. Right now he's an absconding person. So if you are going to give the license to these business tycoons, who are business people rather than financial people, they are not properly in the financial business, they are industrialists, they are capitalists, right? Whereas Deepak Parekh, like people who is a brainchild of HDFC Bank, Parekh Sahab, right? So they are proper financial people. Fine. So once you will start giving the license to these industries, it is going to create a negative image about the banking system in India, where people are more conservative than Western countries people. So this was the reason when RBI was pushed by the government, lobbied by the industrialists in 1992 to issue the license to them. They said no. They said, no, we are not going to give the license. Even again in 2008, RBI was pushed to provide the license, right? So when RBI found that again and again we will be pushed to provide the proper banking license, so RBI conveyed its displeasure, and RBI also conveyed to the government it is technically inappropriate to give the license to this industries. Better to have some hybrid solutions which is also appropriate for the public as well as these companies to run these system. So Sunil Bharti Mittal, all others will be allowed to run the payment banks, right? Small financial banks, payment banks, fintech companies. So these all kind of the solutions are what? This all kind of the solution is to incorporate industry and corporate sector and integrate them in our banking system without allowing him to touch the retail banking. Got it? Clear? Is this point is clear? So who was asking regarding what Sam was asking or someone else was asking? Okay, Sam. So, Sam, you got the understanding why payment bank is no, yes or no? Why payment banks are here? Why small financial banks are here? Why a fintech company, right? And now the next generation of this financing is what? DEFI. DEFI. DEFI is in the trend. Decentralized financing. Right. So decentralized financing. So when we discuss the payment banks, when we discuss the small financial banks that are the last generation of kind of banking solutions, the next generation banking solution is DeFi, decentralized financing, which is related to blockchain, and they are through blockchain, then crypto. Cryptocurrency is based this decentralized financing solution, right? So I am also going to discuss this thing in the next lecture. Thank you very much. DAO, what do you mean by DAO? It's a error or it some means? Shekhar, for this I have one example. I have one example. Sometimes what happened, for example, in the society where I'm living right now, this society have lot of restrictions. Means you cannot play the music after some point of time, each and everything. Lot of restrictions means it's a very peaceful thing, peaceful being living here. But just outside this society, there are small colony where people will do their DJ and party even till then midnight, right? So when we are celebrating with DJ and all, we never think about what others are feeling, right? Because we are enjoying. Whereas when others are doing the same thing, then we feel that our right to privacy and our other things. So crypto business is something like that, right? Crypto business right now, it is something like that, right? And at a point of time, because where we are staying, means I am staying right now, there are three, one, two, and three small colonies are here, and this is my society where I am staying. So DJ is playing, right, and I'm not able to understand sound is coming from this side, sound is coming from this side, or sound is coming from this side. So crypto is something like that. Nobody knows that. Government don't know that. Banks do not know that. Everybody is confused what we should do with the cryptos, right? What we should, the crypto and crypto mining and all. And where there is an uncertainty, wherever there is an uncertainty, there is an opportunity for some people who better understand this uncertainty, and they will exploit it. Whereas there are some people who are concerned like you and me, they are concerned with you and me, right? Where are some people like government, they are undecided what should do. Right, they are looking others, what other government is going to do, what US or some like-minded economies, like-minded means the same kind of the system we have in US, the same kind of the system we have in Europe. So they are waiting what kind of the regulations they are going to take regarding cryptos, right? Right now it is going to be restricted, right? Because this crypto has challenged the sovereign power. So definitely crypto is going to be restricted, but to what extent, that is in what, that is in future. And probably in the budget session, maybe government will come with the new crypto bill or cryptocurrencies bill, or maybe in the um, monsoon session. So we have to wait for it, right? But you can closely follow the pros and cons, though I'll provide all the details of this crypto business, don't worry. As I explained, if I have explained all these things in such a detail, I'll explain the crypto from Satoshi Nakamoto to till then Dogo coins. I'll explain each and everything. Don't worry. Yes, core functioning. Saurabh, I'll come to this point at a point of time when I will discuss the banking system. This point will come. Don't worry. Satoshi Nakamoto is a kind of what? It's a just a pseudonym. It's not a real person, and this is not a work of single person. This is not a work of single person. Never be confused like that. Because a single person have a, such an high IQ. No person have such kind of a high IQ. It is a group. It is a group, and nobody knows that some government is involved. Right? Some government is involved. So it's a group, right? And because of some reasons, it is not open. But blockchain is a kind of revolution, especially for the financial system. I'll throw the light, not light, I'll throw the halogen on it in a one separate session. Even it is required, if it is required to make a separate video apart from the class, I'll create the video and I'll put the halogen on it rather than light, right, on the crypto and each and everything. So for today, I'm going to wind up this session. Tomorrow I'll start from here only. Okay, thank you.